sports bar next to campus at University Commons. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Ben Joyce kicks and delivers. Strike three!
Rock Solid Sports, the only show with a home field advantage for UT Athletics. Here's tonight's host, Jackson Williams.
Welcome back in, everybody, to Rock, your host. For the final time, Jackson Williams. I got Jack Foster. Next to me, we got Bryson Wright across the glass. Joseph Bonanno going to join us later. And at our sponsor, Fieldhouse Social, 2525 University Commons Way, we got our man, Riley Haltom. Riley, what's going on?
You know how it is down here at Fieldhouse Social. We're having a good time. Great vibes, great food, lots of live sports on the TVs. So, yeah, come down here, get a bite to eat, come enjoy the huge screen, watch some sports, hang out down here at Fieldhouse Social. It's a great time, as always.
Definitely. And it was a good time at Lindsey Nelson Stadium yesterday. Tennessee baseball wrapping up their regular season home schedule, 18-0 victory over Belmont.
A clobbering.
Clobbering.
I mean, and this is the best team in the OVC. They are leading the OVC. So
it wasn't.
They're not a slouch.
Yeah, this wasn't Iona who didn't win a game till April. This wasn't Rhode Island.
Right.
This was a pretty solid opponent. And Tennessee put it on them pretty good.
Yeah, Belmont squad that has swept Purdue on the road and went wire to wire with Alabama. It was a drubbing though last night for the Bruins. Vols really laid it on them. 6 home runs hit, 2 from Seth Stevenson, really encouraging, and 1 from Drew Gilbert. So it was kind of the night for people who haven't hit a lot of homers this year to hit them. But yeah, a lot of arms used out of the bullpen. It was a great night for Tennessee.
I want to say going into last night, Stevenson only had 2 or 3.
He had
homers.
2 and he hit 2.
Okay, yeah, I thought he doubled his season total last night against Belmont.
Yeah, he did, and they were pretty encouraging jacks from Seth, and I think it's really big for his confidence. With Hoover right around the corner, obviously Jared Dickey's availability is up in the air because you figure once he comes back fully healthy, he'll regain that starting role, especially as the leadoff hitter and maybe in left field. But Seth has been playing pretty well as of late.
Yeah, and that's the good thing. Even if Dickey is not able to come back, I think that everybody should have some confidence in Stevenson because he's played pretty well. And like you said, I think letting him play in this midweek, and he's been starting a lot of the games throughout the SEC, is going to help him a lot in Hoover.
Yeah, for sure. And and as the leadoff hitter, you can argue he's been a weak spot in Tennessee's lineup, but he showed last night he can play with the rest of them.
His speed though is so valuable in that leadoff spot. When he does get on base,
it's
he's
really
probably
scoring.
Nice. Yeah, like you have a guy with elite speed. It's just getting him on base has been the issue for Stevenson. And he's a single machine. He's not going to hit very many home runs. You're not going to see the 2 homers, but. Good for him. Good last home game. Obviously, you want to end that home schedule on a high note. And looking ahead to Mississippi State, they are currently last in the SEC West. They are fighting for their lives this weekend as they look to potentially get into the SEC tournament because baseball doesn't let every team in the SEC does not go to the SEC tournament. So, what are you looking for this weekend? I think it's going to be more fun than it would be because obviously you have that desperation from Mississippi State.
You definitely do. And you saw it from Kentucky, in that series, that desperation, because, they were fighting for their season. Basically, the playoffs started for them then. So the playoffs start now for the Bulldogs. They got to win probably at least 2 against Tennessee. And it's going to be a great series, defending national champs, defending College World Series champions. So, it's always interesting when that happens.
The big thing to me for Tennessee is going to be, obviously, they're going to be extremely desperate because they're fighting for their lives. But I think they need to remember we're still fighting for stuff too. They're still fighting to be the number 1 overall seed. I think that obviously, even if they do decide to drop all 3 of these games or something, they're still going to probably host a regional. If they win that, they'll host a super regional for sure, but they still have stuff to play for. So I don't think that there's going to be a huge problem with motivation, but I do think it can be easy to kind of fall back when you're so high up in the standings and you're playing a team that's slower.
No, I definitely agree, Bryson. But if anything, the Vols have showed this season, it's motivation is not hard for them to have.
Mhm.
You know, you can just snap your finger and be like, "Hey, you got an opponent," and Drew Gilbert's up there like, "Let's go." You know?
Yeah, but I mean, it is something to question. I mean, Tennessee has nothing to play for at this point.
They don't.
They're guaranteed to pretty much. I don't know what it would take for them to not host through super regionals at this point. They've they've clinched the SEC. I mean, do you guys think we could see some subbing, some maybe?
If they have the series wrapped by Sunday, I don't think Tony would do that if they're playing for the series on Saturday. Excuse me.
Okay.
If they're playing for the series, it's going to be full force.
Okay. I was just curious because Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not playing for anything. I mean, obviously, you want to win these games. I mean, this is going to be a historic season for Tennessee. You want to end the regular season on a high note, but
yeah,
it's very similar. You see it a lot in the pro. You see this more in the pros than you do in college.
Definitely. And the interesting thing for Tennessee this weekend is who's going to start on the mound other than Dolander, because that's all we know right now is that Dolander is at least starting one game.
And I mean, I think it would be tough to. I think they're going to give Tidwell the weekend off. So I had to guess because you gave Burns and Beam the weekend off, and Beam did not look good out of the bullpen. He did not look like that was something that a role that he is very comfortable in.
That was not good.
He gets shelled for 3 runs.
He needs another start. He needs another start before the SEC tournament.
Yeah, I agree. He loaded the bases and then got pulled. He faced 4 batters.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Drew Beam, I think you can almost 100% pencil him in for a start. And then
I think the Joyce experiment is a little. I mean, not that it went badly, but I just don't think it's going to happen this weekend.
No,
I don't either. Yeah,
I feel like you're saving that for
on down the road.
Yeah, because I mean, you need to get your other arms in. I mean, you gave 2 of your starters weekends off. One of them had a really tough outing, and you want him to bounce back before Hoover.
Yeah.
And let's look at Hoover because ultimately, this series for Tennessee does not really carry weight. Mm-hmm. So Hoover does. What are you guys looking to see in Hoover? Who do you think the Vols are going to play? Like, what matchups are you looking at?
Yeah. Well, we're expecting Tennessee to go all the way in Hoover, right? That's fair.
I mean, I feel like if you don't want this, I mean, if you don't go all the way in Hoover, it would be a disappointment. It would be obviously any given day, a team, especially in baseball, something weird can happen, but I would expect Tennessee to at least be in the championship game.
Yeah. Well, in game 1, which will be a week from today, on Wednesday evening in Hoover, they're going to play the winner of the 8 seed versus the 9 seed. So middle of the pack SEC team. Obviously we don't know who that's going to be yet. It's going to have to shake out this weekend and get finalized, but they're going to play a pretty solid SEC team. But I would expect them to get past game 1 pretty easily and move on. I mean, it's just kind of Hoover, I feel like, is one of those things you just talk about as it goes on, and how these games shake out, because anything could happen at any moment, like Alabama beating Tennessee last year.
Yeah, that game was really weird, and a lot of weird things happened in that Alabama game last year. And who do you think is the worst matchup for Tennessee in this tournament in the SEC?
I don't.
Maybe Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, you have to say Arkansas because
that's what I would think.
It's the team they haven't played. It's the best team other than Tennessee. So just those two by themselves. I mean, and they got a star-studded roster. So
I want to see that matchup.
Everyone
we talked about it.
I mean, that's the matchup everybody wants to see, like in the championship game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that has to be the championship. If a successful SEC tournament, obviously weird things happen, but you got to think Tennessee and Arkansas is the marquee that everybody wants to see.
Yeah. I would, if I had to pick a rematch to see, I would love to see Tennessee Auburn again. I just like those two, how those two teams go up against each other. Sonny DeShera, of course, being on Auburn. I just like it.
That was a really fun series. That was, had a little bit of extracurricular activity. I mean, you had
a
lot of different things.
You had
going on.
Man, you had the 17-run first game, right?
Yes.
17-4, and then Auburn takes game 2, and then 105-5 on Sunday. That was top tier series.
Yeah, and the second game was the bat flip in the ninth where the bat flip went into Tennessee's dugout
and he threw it back.
That series was honestly one of the best home SEC. It was probably the best home SEC series of the year.
That and Bama, Bama is just funny because of the ejections, but yeah, I would say
which one was your favorite Tony Vitello moment so far this season, though?
Bumping the umpire. That's 5 points. That was really funny.
I think that has to be the pick.
I mean, the bat thing was funny too. the Mike Hahn show, obviously.
Oh,
that was on
Mike
air.
Hahn
That
show.
wasn't at home, but that was on
against
TV.
Vandy.
That was pretty good.
He has so many moments, man. It's like every weekend you're gonna get a treat.
Yeah, he's very different. It's always a fun time with Tony Vitello, and going past Hoover. There's so many things on the horizon for Tennessee baseball. Like, what are you looking to see in Hoover to show you something to go into the postseason?
Okay. Yeah. So that's a difficult question, just because Tennessee has shown everything this year. But you want to see you want to see better base running and maybe a couple bunts, because that's the two things that they have not been able to do well at all this year. The base running has caused multiple blunders. That's caused them a lot of runs this season, particularly in that loss against Georgia on Saturday.
When Gilbert was caught on.
Yeah. And, they just when players have gotten on base, I think Bryson pointed out a couple of weeks ago, it's always like they're bad when the bases are loaded.
Yeah.
They struggle with fully capitalizing on opportunity.
Yeah, I feel like that was something that I needed that needs to be seen, better base running. I mean, there was a moment, like you said, in that Georgia game on Saturday, Jordan Beck and Drew Gilbert were standing on third base, together. Like, they were about as close as me and Jack are right now. Yeah. And it was a fly out. So
yeah, and we've seen some just unnecessary stolen base attempts. Seth Stevenson has made a couple of blunders, but yeah. So those two things, I guess, would be maybe the things I want to see most, especially base running.
I also want to see that, and I also want to see a little bit of bounce back from the starters. I feel like Drew Beam obviously got rocked on. I want to say that was Saturday. That was Saturday when Beam came out of the bullpen. In his bullpen appearance, Burns looked pretty good, but Burns has struggled as of late. Beam has struggled. I want to see those two. Dolander looks to be the one pitcher that is just surging at the right. He surged all season. He's been Tennessee's best pitcher this season. So. Yeah, I just kind of want to see the younger freshmen, especially in a postseason environment. That's what I want to see in Hoover, how they respond to a postseason environment and see if they can bounce back from a rough outing.
I definitely agree with the environment thing, just because of how good they've been all season. There've been some moments where they had to make clutch plays, but a lot of times they're up 4, 5, 6 runs near the end of the game. And then when it's like you're playing for the SEC championship, everything gets a little bit harder. I do want to see how they respond. I don't think there's anything like, if you watch the whole season, they have the talent to be the best team in the country. It's just going to be about making plays when it matters most, including, like we were talking about, when the bases are loaded, you got to capitalize on stuff like that. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking for in the SEC tournament. What are they going to do when the bases are loaded in the bottom of the 8th inning and it's a 1-run game? I think that's the big thing for it. That changes between a good team and a team that's going to win the championship. That's the difference.
No, yeah, you make a good point, Bryson. And, just going back to the pitching, obviously you make a good point, Jackson, that the freshmen have to rebound. Well, I think Will Mabry, I want to see a good outing out of Will Mabry, and I want to see a bounce back outing out of Redmond Walsh, because Redmond Walsh did not have a good Saturday, and we haven't seen Will Mabry put together a really solid SEC outing in a while.
Yeah, definitely. And, another thing you really want to see is, you talked about the bases loaded situation. I want to see the bottom of the lineup capitalize, because I feel like in a lot of those bases loaded situations, it would be the 4, 5, 6 guys get on, and then you'd have your 7, 8, 9 guys, and they just couldn't capitalize on big situations. I feel like that's going to be a big key.
Well, if Blake Burke continues to start at DH, that won't be a problem.
Yeah.
Dude, I was just thinking that, because he's been awesome the last couple weeks.
I remember talking to a good friend of the show, Ryan Shumpert, after the Auburn series, after the series finale, and I was talking about Tennessee, how many players they had hit double-digit homers, and I was like, and Burke has 5. If he gets more at-bats, he'll get there. That was not too long ago. Now Burke has 9 homers. He's had before last night, he had 4 homers and 14 at-bats.
Yeah, I believe it was the Thursday game at Auburn. He killed 2 baseballs.
At Georgia, yeah.
Georgia. Why did I say Auburn? Georgia just killed baseballs. Just like this ball went over the scoreboard.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. I mean,
strongest hitter on the team.
And even like he hit like a ground single that was just loud, and it flew.
It's a rifle. Yeah.
It was a line like grounder. It was crazy. I mean, he's got incredible power. You want to see him play more in himself. Tony Vitello's talked about that a lot. He tries for the homer a lot, which results in strikeouts.
I'll tell you what, he was last night really hard, because everyone was having such great success, but he wasn't, and you could tell he was like, ugh, I gotta get one here, and he was just swinging for the fences, but nothing was working.
Yeah, but when he calms down and just puts the bat on his shoulders and just swings, he's got the strength to like, he doesn't have to like put everything,
Yeah.
like all of it in there.
He could probably golf at 330 yards.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
that's
that's a short wall. I mean, he's got the power. So it's going to be interesting to see how Tennessee manages Blake Burke and Jared Dickey when he comes back, because I mean, Jared Dickey was awesome for Tennessee. He was he's one of their best players before he got injured. And you know, it's just going to be fun to watch how this baseball season unfolds. What are you expecting out of the baseball team?
I mean, they got to get to Hoover with the talent they have. They have to get to Hoover. Step one. If they don't, it's a disappointment.
You mean Omaha?
Or Omaha? Yes.
I was going to say I hope they.
No, I'm sorry. Yes, Omaha, of course. They got to get to Omaha. And then when they're in Omaha, you want to see a better showing than last year. Make progress. If they don't win the World Series, I don't want people to say this season was a failure, because that's just, I mean, it's so difficult to go all the way. A number one seed has not won the College World Series since '99. So you just can't, you have to hope for it, you know, but you can't expect it.
Well, also, you have to keep in mind that the two options are not just win the championship or failure.
No,
I do think that, I think that what's a lot of people kind of get into that mindset, but you do go into the regionals, into the super regionals, and you're thinking about winning a championship. I mean, if you've been the number one team the whole season, obviously, like you said, the one seed has only done it once since I guess the 90s, whenever they changed the way that it worked. But yeah, you that's still the mindset is you're going to win a championship. Now, if you don't win, it's not necessarily a failure, but I don't think that anybody should go in there thinking, oh, we just have to get to Omaha, because I think the goal still needs to be higher.
No, yes, it has to be better than what you did last year. Like I said, progress in Omaha.
Definitely. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of this break, Joseph's going to join us. We're going to have a little bit of NBA as well as some UT basketball talk. Going to be a full basketball segment when we come back on Rock Solid Sports.
This is RB Morris, and you're listening to 90.3 The Rock, where music matters most.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2022 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smokies Stadium in Kodak against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will cover Smokies Baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
Volunteer Radio stays on air thanks to Cool Beans, the 21 Up college sports bar next to campus on Lake Avenue, a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles. HGTVs everywhere, along with darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. to late night. Burgers, wings, and sandwiches, vol card accepted. Cool Beans hosts Rock Solid Sports every Monday night at 7. Trivia Tuesdays, Bingo Thursdays. More on Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or CoolBeansBar.com.
Knoxville. Be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 p.m. for The Alternative, sponsored by Bliss and Torrey Mason Shoes on Gate Street and in West Town Mall. And Bliss with the Gallery Shopping Center, also sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, bar and live music venue in the heart of Knoxville's Old City. The Alternative features 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station who first brought Knoxville music about bands from back in the alt-country days, like the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo, Steve Earle, and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana like the V-Roys, Whiskey Town, Lucinda Williams, Sunvold, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Molly Tuttle, Tyler Childers, Casey Musgraves, Sturgill Simpson, Billy Strings, and the Punch Brothers. You'll also get classic Americana like Johnny Cash, The Band, and Emmylou Harris, and there's always Patsy Cline at 9. Tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, Bliss Home, and Torrey Mason Shoes, and only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Hi, this is David Lowery from Cracker and Kemper Van Beethoven, and you're listening to 90.3.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to listener donations and support from the UT Athletic Department. After making it to Omaha last season, the 2022 baseball ball season begins in February and runs into May, featuring games with SEC rivals South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Season group and individual game ticket info is at allvols.com. Students need to show their valid UT ID at the gate for entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
The Rock thanks the Hill Bar and Grill for their support. The Hill on Forest Avenue is open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. until late night for dining indoors or on the expanded patio. The Hill has a variety of appetizers and a full menu of wings, burgers, tacos, and more. The Hill is our Thursday Munchie Madness sponsor and home of Friday's Rock Solid Sports. On Instagram at The Hill Knox. Menu at thehillknox.com.
Follow 90.3 The Rock on Facebook and at WUTK The Rock on Instagram and Twitter. You might learn something new.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Welcome in, everybody, to Rock Solid Sports. I'm your host, Jackson Williams. I got Jack Foster to my left. I got Bryson right across the glass. And from a secret, unknown location, joining us is Joseph Bonanno. Joseph, what's going on, buddy?
Well, my location is slightly unknown, but you know, I may or may not be listening to some Tennessee Smokies baseball right now. Just started 0-0 game, first inning, but I'm doing good. Excited to be on for your last show. One of the best hosts Rock Solid has ever had, and ready to talk some sports.
Amen to that.
Appreciate that, buddy. And, you know, we're glad to have you with us. And, you know who else we got with us? We got Riley Haltom at Fieldhouse Social 2525 University Commons Way Fieldhouse Social. Riley, how's it going down there?
You know, I got to second everything Joseph just said there. He's sitting straight back there. But yeah, it's Fieldhouse Social. It's always a good time down here. We got some baseball, professional and college on the TVs as well. I have some NHL playoffs. So good time down here is always great food, great vibes, great atmosphere. Come down here, get you a bite to eat, and come enjoy some sports here at Fieldhouse Social.
Definitely. Always look forward to talking with Riley when he's at Fieldhouse, and always a fun time. And, you know, Tennessee basketball has been making some big moves lately in the recruiting game. 5-star Julian Phillips committing, I believe that was last week.
Yeah, it was my econ exam day. That's how I remember. I think it was last Thursday.
Yeah, because it was my last practicum day here at the station.
Yeah.
So I remember because Benny walked in like excited about our manager. So Julian Smith,
big land. Yeah.
BJ Edwards on campus. I mean, what do you think of the retooling that Rick Barnes has done after losing so many players to the transfer portal?
Julian Phillips is a huge land. 6'8", 5-star, the best recruit that was not committed in the 2022 class. So he's going to come to Rocky Top this fall. He's going to make an immediate impact. Could start, game one, just like Brandon Huntley Hatfield did last year. He's a great addition to the post, a much needed addition.
Yeah, and it's not just going to, he has great size. He's probably going to play small forward and power forward, but he can also stretch the floor. He has a nice jumper and everything like that. He's really like the perfect 6'8" athletic guy that every team needs one of. He kind of reminds me a lot of the way Josiah plays, but I still think that he has a little bit more bounce and he's going to attack the basket a little bit more. But yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting to have him on the team next year. But I do think we're probably looking at a one and done situation, kind of like Kennedy.
No, yeah, I could agree with that. This dude's a stud from Link Academy. He's gonna be great for Tennessee. Massive win for Barnes.
Yeah, I mean, and I still just don't get why BHH transferred.
Who knows, man?
That made no sense.
It was 100%. He wanted more minutes, and Rick Barnes would not guarantee him minutes. He wanted guaranteed. A rumor I heard. I'm not saying this is true. For a rumor I heard, he wanted a guaranteed 30 minutes a game, and he wanted to start. That was never going to happen. Rick Barnes wouldn't even guarantee Kennedy Chandler 30 minutes a game.
Brandon wanted to be a shooting big, and that is just not how Rick Barnes runs his
Rick
team.
Barnes plays if you're playing the 5, you are going to be down low
playing defense,
and I'm kind of doing something. If you're Euros or
I mean,
you're going to be kind of.
We saw Brandon shoot some. I mean, it wasn't like he was zero offense,
Yeah, I just mean Rick Barnes has a tendency to have bigs on the floor that just don't look like they're doing much. Like when Euros first got to campus, he didn't do much. He was just big and he was there. I I think he played 20 minutes in one of his first games and had 1 rebound at 7 feet tall.
Yeah,
that was a tough game for Euros, and
he's come a long way though.
He has.
He's come a long way since that first game.
The development of Euros has been one of my favorite things to watch because obviously, like I said, 20 minutes played, 1 rebound for a guy who's over 7 foot tall, and now he's a real contributor on this Tennessee team. And I could see him starting next year.
No, I mean he started majority of last year. I think he will start the season.
Yeah, I mean, especially if
you could see Jonas surpass him. Jonas Adu is a great talent. So
this lineup's going to be fun to see how they shake it out. I mean, I think right now you got to go BJ Edwards at the point at 1.
No.
Zakai at 1.
No, I think Rick.
We're gonna get Joseph back here in a minute.
I think his sounds will be all right. Try it again.
Can you get me?
Yeah, we're good.
I genuinely think that Barnes is going to have this Vescovy play the 1, unless they somehow get someone between now and then. I don't see Zakai starting at the 1. I don't see BJ starting at the 1. He's not a true 1. There's not a true 1 on this team. I know I've talked to you guys about this.
Yes.
It'll be really interesting how those guards are used. It'll probably be something like last year, except instead of having one person run the point, it'll kind of be a mix of Zakai, BJ, Vescovy, and Josiah.
And Tyreek Key. I think he could be a candidate.
I think that too. Him too.
Because Vescovy was, he played point his first year at Tennessee, or his second year at Tennessee.
Yeah, 2 years
2020.
ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he wasn't very good. It's just like he just wasn't a good point. He wasn't a true point guard.
Yeah.
That's not he's a 2. That's
when he plays shooting guard, he's able to get more catch and shoot opportunities, which is where he shoots the ball the best. He doesn't shoot great off the dribble, which is one reason why I like him playing shooting guard a little bit more. But yeah, kind of like what Joseph said, I don't know if anybody is a true point guard. I think Zakai is a true point guard, but I still think that they're going to want to bring him off the bench because I feel like he's more of he's like the spark plug player.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that.
He's got the 2K badge, the spark plug badge.
Yeah. I think we'll see either Santi or Tyreek play the 1 with the other playing the 2. Because, Tyreek Key, this is his last season as a collegiate athlete. He's a super senior.
Mm-hmm.
He's got this is where he makes his hay.
Yeah, so, it's going to be fun to watch him play.
Yeah.
And what do you think BJ Edwards' role on this team is going to be?
Probably pretty minimal. He's not like Kennedy Chandler. Don't get it confused. He's not Kennedy Chandler.
Oh no, but he's a very highly
going to get minutes,
recruit.
But I don't think he'll start.
Could you see a situation where it's you have Tyreek and Vescovy starting out at the 1 and 2, and then you see BJ and Zakai come off the bench?
Yeah,
I could see
that. That would be a smaller lineup, but yeah, I could definitely see that.
I think it'll be interesting to see how this lineup is managed
tonight. I think it'll be interesting, especially with how we saw Josiah play that 3-4 role last year, and with Julian Phillips being brought in. I think it'll be really interesting to see what Rick Barnes does with that 4 spot, that 3-4 spot. He'll probably play his small lineup where he'll have 3 guards out there, but with Jonas and Phillips and James all being able to play that 4 spot.
Back too, and he played the 4 spot.
Oh yeah, and Olivier will be back as well. So there's a lot of room right there. It's going to be hard to get guys on the floor consistently.
Yeah, it's going to be a crowded lineup. We saw this last year. Obviously, not everybody's going to stay healthy all season.
Yeah.
So having this depth is going to be helpful. Obviously, when you saw Nkamwa go down, you saw different guys not able to be in the lineup some nights. It's just that's what happens over the course of a basketball season. So it'll end up working out in Tennessee's favor. But the beginning of the season, I think, is going to be the most interesting to watch how they try different things against non-conference opponents.
That's always interesting at the very beginning of the season. And I want to note about this Tennessee team, while it might not be have a lot of players per se, because they still have 3 spots to fill, 3 Scally spots. So it's not like the deepest, I guess you could say, but the talent they have, it's like 4 stars or above. Even Jemai was a 4-star.
Yeah, and Jemai Mashak is going to be fighting for minutes. He's like he was last year. He got some solid minutes. I think they'll continue to bring him along, and that's another guard in that rotation. They're very deep at guard. I would like to see another post player.
Yeah,
fill one of those scholarship spots.
You got a solid 4 I think, with not including Josiah, of course, with Phillips, Arosh, Jonas, and they'll choose 2 to start, and then they'll rotate the other 2, like we saw with
Chucky Robbins.
Yeah.
What's our
second inning?
what's y'all's projected starting lineup?
I'm gonna go Key, Vescovy, James, Phillips, Arosh.
I'm going to agree with all of it, except I'm going to say Nkamwa plays the 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it'll be Olivier at the 5. But I think, Julian Phillips and Josiah James should definitely be in the starting 5. But I think the good thing is they could both play either the 3 or the 4 based on the matchup, I think. And we saw that Josiah can play multiple positions last year. And I think he's really going to be the guy that's going to be the key to how all of this is going to work, not only from a leadership perspective, but also because of the way he plays on the court.
Joseph, what about you? You got one?
I really like that. Sorry, working over here, but no, I really.
Lookouts and Smoky scoreless.
It's going to be interesting to see how. It's going to be interesting to see how this lineup shakes out. It's a very good lineup. It's a nice. It's going to be interesting. It's just
they're talented, like I said.
They're very talented. They've got a lot of returning players with also an influx of a lot of new talent. It felt like 2020 to 2021, you still had a lot of guys that were developing along with new talent. I feel like you have a lot of entrenched, developed guys now that you're trying to fill like a few holes, a few pieces here and there, but you also have a huge influx of talent. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything shakes out.
Yeah, and this roster is not done from being, it's far from being completed. There's 3 scholarship spots left. Toby Waka could reclassify, who committed a couple of days ago, a 23 recruit. Out of the same, he's from the Bronx like Zakai, and they played for the same AAU team, the Lightning. So, a recruit who's kind of flown under the radar, but he had a great junior year. So yeah, he could be another post edition.
And the reason they have 3 scholarship spots to fill is because obviously they had a lot of transfers. Also, Kennedy Chandler declared for the draft, and he was at the draft combine getting was it the combine?
Yeah.
It was the combine. He got his measurements today. And, that wingspan, everybody keeps talking about, officially measured at 6'5" for the 6-foot point guard.
We've been lied to.
We have.
Only a little bit. I mean, I guess they have to do it in order to kind of help his draft stock going into it. So they're going to talk him up a little bit more. I am surprised that he actually reached, I think they said he was closer to 6'1". So I was like, that kind of surprised me. Because
that was with shoes on. It was
shoes.
He was 6 feet and a half, like 6 feet and then half an inch with shoes on. So he's still one of the smallest guys in the draft. But he did have the highest vert, I believe.
Yeah, 41 and a half.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm really excited to see what Kennedy Chandler does in the NBA. I think he's going to be a steal for whatever team picks him. He just has that it factor. You could see it at Tennessee whenever he played.
Yeah, he does. And his defense improved a lot. I mean, I think we touched on this either last week or 2 weeks ago about the mocks. He's going to be interesting to see what shakes out.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun story to watch. And I mean, whatever team gets him is getting a really solid player in the mid-teens. So definitely interesting to watch. And the NBA is in their conference finals right now.
There's a VFL playing.
There is Grant Williams. Ooh, he had a tough Eastern Conference Finals opener.
Hold on. Before we get to last night, let's talk about Game 7 because we haven't touched on that yet.
Yeah, Game 7 was incredible.
Grant Williams went
7 threes, baby.
Went sicko mode.
I think the crazy thing is that he attempted 18.
Yeah,
he went 7 for 18. Set it. Did he tie or set the 3-point Game 7 record?
He tied with Steph Curry for most threes in a Game 7.
So when you look at that record, most threes in a Game 7, you're going to see the greatest shooter of all time and Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
So,
Jaylen Brown said they've been calling him Grant Curry.
Yeah, I mean,
they brothers.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It was interesting to watch Grant Williams just go off because he's been a real contributor for the Celtics. He's really improved his 3 game, and he's become one of their he started last night in Game 1, and
he's been
we'll touch on that in a second because it didn't go as well as Game 7 did. But I mean, it was incredible watching him with this performance. I mean, the Celtics don't win that game without Grant Williams.
Well, and I will say that I think it was a questionable decision by the Bucks coaching staff, because it kind of felt like they were like, well, if Grant Williams beats us, then we're going to live with it. And it's like, dude shot over 40% from three this season. I don't think just leaving him open because you're more scared of Jason Tatum is really the right thing to do. And he made him pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's awesome to watch Grant Williams play like this. Because I was a freshman when he played at Tennessee, his last year at Tennessee, and you could see a lot of the pieces there, but he's put it together in the NBA, and it's been so fun to watch. And
did you expect this?
No, I mean, Tennessee players other than like Tobias Harris and back in the Bernie and Ernie days, you haven't really seen a really great Tennessee NBA player. So,
well, I wouldn't say he's great yet.
I mean,
he's competent. He's a competent starter.
A guy have a performance like that in a Game 7.
He's become
we
a
haven't
well-known
seen
player.
that. Yeah, he's becoming more well-known, like you said, with Tobias Harris. Now, I will say, when he was coming out of college, I knew, or I had a feeling, that his ability to shoot was going to be the difference. If he could develop a jump shot, it was going to be better for him, because he has the defense. He's a little bit undersized, but he's still, like, he's undersized to play power forward, but he can still, just because the NBA is moving so much to small ball as well right now, it helped him a lot. And just, I think the biggest thing is, like you said, he hit 7 3-pointers. I feel like at Tennessee, he would maybe hit 1 3 if they left him wide open every once in a while. But now that's like his main thing. That's his number one job on offense, is to hit 3-pointers. So I think that's really interesting how he's changed his game to kind of stick more in the NBA than maybe some other guys would have.
Yeah, you look at that Tennessee team from 2018. It's wild, the talent that's not in the NBA that we considered here like great. Like Admiral Schofield is in the G. He bounced between the G League and the Magic this year, right?
Right.
And Jordan Bone, I don't think is in the NBA anymore. I mean, Grant Williams is the last remaining piece of that team who's a real role player, everyday NBA guy. And it's cool to watch him play like that. And I never really expected like Shaq, Ernie, and Chuck to talk about Grant Williams during a halftime show.
Especially when it's a game with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday and all these guys. But you come out of that game thinking, man, Grant Williams was the best player on the court.
Against Giannis. I mean, yeah, Grant Williams is he did incredible things last series, had a rough start to Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
The Celtics as a whole did. I mean, they went up 8 at the half, came out and were outscored 39-14. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, 25-point differential.
39-14, and including a 22-2 run in that third quarter. And it was a product of them rushing. They were running up the court, trying to play way too quickly, and they were turning the ball over left and right. Jimmy Butler had back-to-back steals at one point. I mean,
he was incredible.
He's Jimmy Butler. He's one of the best defensive NBA players of this generation. But I mean, I really would watch the Celtics, and they were just rushing. They were rushing into. I mean, they would give the ball to one of their stars. Their stars would drive to the bucket and either miss or get the ball stolen. That's what happened pretty much the whole third quarter, and they started to figure it out in the fourth quarter, but it was too late.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you that they were rushing, but I think the reason they were rushing is because of how great the Miami Heat played defense. I mean, if you look at their team, when you've got a starting lineup that has Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and PJ Tucker, like, that's difficult to score on. None of those guys are pushovers. They're all physical. Bam Adebayo can guard anybody on the court at any given time. So it's really difficult to score on that. And I think that kind of just made them speed up. I think that in Game 2, once they look at the film, they're going to slow down and get more into their offense than they did last night. But yeah, it felt like there was that third quarter, especially. It just felt like they were turning the ball over and over again. They were missing shots. They weren't taking good shots. And Miami capitalized on all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Butler only had 2 turnovers and Tatum had 7. So that's a big stat to look at. And Bryson, I was in Jackson. Did you guys think that Jimmy was getting a friendly whistle last night?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely got the superstar whistle last night.
It seemed like every time he drove to the bucket, it was a foul.
Yeah.
But I will also give him credit because a lot of times when you get a lot of foul calls on you, it means you're just being more aggressive. And I think because they were the more aggressive team at going to the rack compared to the Celtics, it put them in better positions to get those fouls.
Yeah. I mean, Butler had more free throws than Tatum and Brown combined, I think.
And they were making nice contested shots, too. I mean, they were. Yeah. I mean, the Heat played well enough to win this game. And I mean, Grant Williams, let's talk a little bit about Grant Williams game one. We sung his praises. He got bullied in game one. It was not, I mean, Bam Adebayo.
That collision.
Oh, there was like 3 of them. Which one?
The main one where they both went to the floor.
Okay.
It was like a car crash.
It felt like I had a final today, so I was studying and I was looking I was looking at, stuff, and I was watching the game, and it just seemed every time I looked, Grant Williams was either in the process of falling down, getting up, or he was laying down and somebody was checking on him because he was getting killed. And he wasn't getting a superstar whistle. I felt like he needed a couple of extra fouls there. Like Jimmy Butler even put Grant Williams on the ground on a fast break. It was definitely an illegal screen.
Well, this is what I was talking about. Nobody on that team, everybody on that team is big. They're all physical. Like I said, when your front line has Jimmy Butler and PJ Tucker and Bam Adebayo, and then you have even Max Strus, who he's a pretty big guy who's still playing shooting guard. So and he played really great last night too on both ends of the floor, and I feel like he was a big part of the game. Gabe Vincent played really well, but yeah, I feel like Grant. He's going to have to be a lot more physical. Of course, he was physical with Giannis last series, but with Giannis, it was like he is the person who's going to be physical. Everybody else isn't as physical, where I feel like on the Miami Heat, everybody has that same mindset.
Definitely. I mean, the Heat are they're a very competitive team. They made the finals 2 years ago. A lot of people forget about how good
in the bubble. Yeah.
And this team's playing without Kyle Lowry. Is Kyle Lowry going to come back at all? Is he done? Well,
it's a hamstring injury, so it's one of those things where he's not done, but he might come back. But if he does come back, he might pull it again. It's one of those.
It's the Julio thing.
Yeah,
the old Julio Jones injury. I know that very well, Brad. I believe you do too.
Yeah,
the old Julio hammy.
I think we should just call it the father time injury because once you start getting up there in age, that's what happens.
Well, Jackson, what's your prediction for the series?
I wanted to say I've said for a while Celtics are going to win the title, but the injuries. I mean, you're not going to have Horford for 2 games. He's still not playing, and Marcus Smart is hurt, Defensive Player of the Year. So I'm leaning Heat in 7 at this point.
Okay,
I think if they can get, they're going to get Al Horford back. If Smart can come back in any capacity in the series, I think the Celtics will be in a good spot
which I think he's going to.
Yeah. So if they get Marcus Smart back, I think they will. I think it'll be Celtics in 7, but it's going to depend on how good Marcus Smart is coming out of the injury. So right now, Heat in 7.
Okay. Those are good points, but I'm going to go with Celtics in 7.
Yeah, I'm going with Celtics in 7 too. That's been my pick. I think that we're going to get a really good game out of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in this next game coming up, though. Game 2.
Celtics in 7. Give it to me.
I love the Celtics team. Last night was
it feels
very
like their
eye-opening.
time. If they can just get it together. I mean, they only lost by 11. They can just get it together, get these guys healthy. Feels like their time.
It's definitely the rise of this new age of Celtics. They haven't been real contenders since the KG Ray Allen days. This feels like the rise of the next generation of Celtics.
They have grinded through every single series. I don't think a game 1 loss is going to phase them. And I don't think injuries are going to phase them. I think they're just that team that digs down and grinds.
Yeah.
I agree. It's just Grant Williams can't be guarding Bam Adebayo. That's how. You have to win game 2. You can't go to you can't go to Boston down 2-0.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So it's gonna come down to it's gonna come down to 7 games. This is gonna be the best series probably of the playoffs so far. And another really solid series, the Mavericks are in the Western Conference Finals. Jack, what are you looking out of the Western Conference Finals? The Warriors versus the Mavs.
Yeah, so obviously the Sun series was awesome at the end. Mavericks winning Game 6 and Game 7, absolutely blowing out Phoenix in Phoenix. That was just really great to see. Everyone played well. Spencer Dinwiddie, 30 points. But for the Mavericks to win this series, these role players have to play well, and Luka has to continue dominating. It can't just be him. We've seen that time and time again. I do think the Warriors win. I have Warriors in 7 as well, just like I have Celtics in 7. I think both these go all the way, but I just feel like the Warriors shooting is too good. Mavericks have been able to, outshoot teams. They're not going to outshoot Golden State.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the best 3-point shooting team because that's what both of these teams' real identity is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not betting against Steph Curry in a 3-point shooting.
Nah.
In a terms of.
I will say though that it's been really great for Luka and the Mavs to get to this point though. This is already win.
Oh yeah,
this is already
sure.
cake.
Oh yeah, I mean
They're playing with house money.
Luka's going to be.
I knew you were going to say it. I was waiting for you to say it because that's what I said with the Grizzlies after they won their series too. I was like, it's house money at this point. But yeah, I do think it's going to end up being the Warriors. I think that just Steph, Clay, even Draymond, even though he hasn't been playing as well, just having that nucleus of guys who has done this so many times. Where I think that you might see Luka average 40 points per game this series, but the question is going to be who else is going to step up with him. Is it going to be Spencer Dinwiddie? And if he does it well one night, can he do it multiple nights in a row?
Yeah, we have not seen consistency out of these other guys.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with the Warriors. If we've seen Steph and Clay do this multiple nights in a row since 2015. Like we've seen them do it before, and that's why I would say Warriors in 6. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 7, but it is very important to note that the Warriors have not lost a home game at all, and they have home court advantage, and they haven't lost a single home game throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, and this series, I feel like you're looking at another case of, I feel like the Warriors know this is going to be one of their last opportunities to really compete for a championship.
Yeah.
And like you said, the Mavs are playing with house money.
Mm-hmm.
The Warriors are coming in. Obviously this is the conference finals. You're going to have desperation, but I feel like the Warriors have that extra, we know that this is one of our last shots to win another trophy. Put
our foot down. We're going to win this thing.
No, because it feels like there's a couple teams, like I would say the Mavs are one of the teams that is like next year, I feel like they're going to take the next step.
And the Grizzlies.
The Grizzlies are part of there. Even the Timberwolves, when you look at the way they played in the second half of the series, and they played pretty well in that first round playoff series, despite the fourth quarter. So it's one of those things where the Nuggets are going to be getting Jamal Murray back next year. So there's a lot of stuff going on to where the West is going to be a lot tougher next year than it was this year. And the Warriors guys are starting to get older. So I think they're really locked in order to try to get this one this year too, because it could be their last chance.
And you got to remember, Led GM will be in full force this offseason trying to get the Lakers back in contention.
Nobody's thinking about them right now.
30, he'll be 37? When the season starts?
Yeah, I think so.
37, and he'll be 38 in December.
Yeah, so LeBron, he still dropped 50 at 37. So, you always got to worry about LeBron. So definitely, it's gonna be a tough Western Conference. It's gonna be tough for the Warriors to really be in this spot again. So I got Warriors in 6.
Joseph, who you got? Warriors?
Oh man, this one's tough. I like the underdog Mavs. I really do. I don't know if Luka can beat Clay and Steph all on his own.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I think I got to go Warriors, but I do think this might go to a game 7. I think the Mavs will push the Warriors just enough and give themselves a chance.
The Mavs have been great at home this playoffs, and they feel like the Cincinnati Bengals almost. But I do think the Warriors win the series.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun series, and the NBA playoffs. We're about to be at the finals.
Days keep going by, man. Before you know it'll be football season.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk a little bit of football when we come out of this next break. Nico Iamaleava was competing in Nashville this weekend. Jack was there. We're going to talk about it next on Rock Solid Sports.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2022 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smokies Stadium in Kodak. against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will cover Smokies baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
Volunteer Radio stays on air thanks to Cool Beans, the 21 Up college sports bar next to campus on Lake Avenue, a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles. HGTVs everywhere, along with darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. to late night. Burgers, wings, and sandwiches, vol card accepted. Cool Beans hosts Rock Solid Sports every Monday night at 7. Trivia Tuesdays, Bingo Thursdays. More on Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or CoolBeansBar.com.
Volunteer Radio stays on the air thanks to support from listeners and from Knoxville Plasma. Located at 2820 Middlebrook Pike, Knoxville Plasma provides plasma donation services. Donations are compensated for time, and a valid ID and more are required to donate. Plasma protein therapy helps people with chronic and genetic diseases such as bleeding disorders, immune system deficiencies, and recipients of transplants and more. Appointments and more information are at 865-637-1497 and at facebook.com/knoxville.plasma. A link is at WTKRadio.com.
Knoxville! I'm DJ Sterling Pearl, proud alum of WUTK, and you're tuned in to 90.3 The Rock. Rockin' ears for 40 years, man!
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to listener donations and support from the UT Athletic Department. After making it to Omaha last season, the 2022 baseball ball season begins in February and runs into May, featuring games with SEC rivals South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Season group and individual game ticket info is at allvols.com. Students need to show their valid UT ID at the gate for entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 p.m. for The Alternative, sponsored by Bliss and Torrey Mason Shoes on Gate Street and in West Town Mall. And Bliss Home at the Gallery Shopping Center, also sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, bar and live music venue in the heart of Knoxville's Old City. The Alternative features 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station who first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the alt-country days, like the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo, Steve Earle, and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana like the V-Roys, Whiskey Town, Lucinda Williams, Sunvold, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Molly Tuttle, Tyler Childers, Casey Musgrave, Sturgill Simpson, Billy Strings, and the Punch Brothers. You'll also get classic Americana like Johnny Cash, the band, and Emmylou Harris, and there's always Patsy Cline at 9. Tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Jig and Reel, Bliss Home, and Torrey Mason Shoes, and only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Welcome in to Rock Solid Sports. I'm your host, Jackson Williams. For the final segment of our Rock Solid Sports show, we got a little bit of Nico talk because Nico was in Nashville for the Elite 11 tournament.
Yeah, it's a quarterback competition.
What'd you see, Jack? You were there?
Yeah, so, a lot of 23 recruits, a lot of 24 guys, obviously, Nico being the top recruit there. But he did really well. He received an invite to the Elite 11 finals, which will be in Los Angeles in June. But Nico did really well with the long ball. His arm strength is just ridiculous, guys. I mean, it's just so effortless what he can do with his strength. He does have to work on some things. He was overthrowing some guys a little bit, but the weather was not kind to anybody in Nashville on Sunday. It was brutal, 95 degrees, no shade, just super hot, and the humidity got to him a little bit. He had to take a little break, but Nico was really good. He was one of the best quarterbacks there. I wouldn't say he performed the best, but a lot of positives to take away from Nico's performance.
And just one last question, about Nico. Was he the best quarterback on the field?
Okay. Well, what he did, even with throws that weren't completed, what he did with his throws and his placement of the football was really great. He did not perform the best. I think it's because he was a little under the weather with how the weather affected him, but he has the most raw talent, and it's not close.
Definitely. I mean, he's a young kid. He's 17.
Yeah, he's got a lot of learning.
He's going into his senior year, and
he got some very valuable lessons from, Super Bowl winning quarterback Trent Dilfer. Everyone did there. So this was a great experience for Nico. And, this Elite 11, particularly in Nashville, was one of the best that's like ever been seen in this competition, period. A lot of guys were saying there who've covered multiple Elite 11s. I've only covered 2. So for him to compete with fellow high schoolers who are, really, really great as well was nice.
Yeah, definitely. I just think it's interesting that Trent Dilfer and Jordan Palmer are the 2 quarterback gurus that are like really in tune, or like in like the guy, like the main quarterback gurus, and their NFL careers were not the
greatest,
the cream of the crop.
It's not like it's Drew Brees doing it.
Yes, exactly.
But an NFL quarterback's always going to be good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And just before we head out of here, it's my last show. I'm graduating on Saturday. I just want to thank you guys, thank the listeners, thank my family, all that's for getting me here, and you guys, Bryson, Jack, Joseph, Riley. We've been doing this for a year. A bunch of you guys joined Rock Solid with us this year, and couldn't be more happy with the direction we all got this thing going. Obviously we were set up with success from guys like Gus Tomazelli, Nick Hill, Phil Cervello, Andrew Bowen, the sports director, Mac Morey. When I first started here, those guys set us up for success, and I'm really excited to see what you guys do with the future of this.
Well, Jackson, that's great, because you've, like Joseph has said multiple times, been the most consistent host, been one of the best hosts here at Rock Solid at your time. You're just great, man. I'm going to miss you.
Yeah, same here. I mean, Jackson was the host on the first show I ever did as well. So I just want to say thank you for all the stuff, all the podcasts we've been doing, going back to Cover 4. So congratulations on graduating. You made it. That's the most important part.
Yeah, just barely made it, and I'm excited.
Jackson, congratulations, buddy. This past 2 years with you has been awesome. I've loved having you by my side every step of the way. And you've done so many cool things. You've done so many great things. So consistent, so reliable. Wherever you move on post-graduation, I know you're going to kill it. And I'm glad that Rock Solid and that we, myself, Jack, Bryson, Riley, all the other guys, we're a part of that journey. So congratulations. Once again.
And I think I can speak for Bryson and Joseph, maybe, but one of the best moments of this entire year was because of you, and that was the Ron Slay interview. That's the best interview I think we've had on Rock Solid since I've been here. And you were asking me what was the favorite part of the show, or what my favorite episode was. That one.
Yeah, that was definitely fun. Big shout out to Ron Slay for coming on with us. Definitely was a fun time. And, thank you guys for listening. It's been a real joy to be a host of Rock Solid Sports, and I'm sure you'll hear me soon.